Welcome to What's a Beautiful Life Anyway? I'm your host, Jill Bennett. This is the channel that shares ideas to help you live your best life, because life can be beautiful if you live consciously. To live your best and most beautiful life, we need to feel at peace. We need to fit in life, feel in alignment with our energy and our environment. Today's guest on What's a Beautiful Life Anyway is Fiona Clark, the Zenergizer. Fiona, welcome.
I'm delighted to be here with you, Jill. Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you here. Now, Fiona is a lover of all things energy. She's taken a magnificent journey over the last 30 years and trained in kinesiology, reflexology, theta healing. I think you're only the second theta healer I've ever met.
Oh, right.
EFT, and so much more, giving you an ever-growing Zenergy chest of skills and techniques that you're passionate about sharing. Now, Fiona loves working with the chakra energy system to identify which energy centers are blocking success in your life and business. Her passion has always been to share how you can heal yourself with easy yet effective energy techniques. Fiona also works with quantum physics and Healy, which is a bioresonance device that works to support the body's energetic field and promote deep cellular healing. It's become her best assistant in amplifying each client's healing journey. Fiona, you have had a very, very interesting life story. So maybe you can tell us more about your background.
Say that. Okay, let me just, because often people ask me how on earth I got into this work. So I'm going to start there and we'll do a quick turbo boost to come up to the present day, because it's a long time ago. I had a car accident, and it's often, as I say to people, it's often our biggest challenges that give us our most wondrous gifts. And we know the M25, don't we? We all know it very well. And I actually just happened to be the fourth car out of 5 in a car pileup. I mean, this is many years ago. And I had 2 whiplash injuries in that. I could see this BMW coming at full speed into the back of me as well. So that was pretty severe. And then I had another car accident 3 months later when someone, when I was stationed at the nights, came into the back of me there. So I had a 3rd whiplash injury within 3 months. So my neck, my shoulder, my arm, so much pain. And I was going to the doctors. I went to doctors in Harley Street. I had manipulation under anesthetic. They said to me, and I was in my 20s then, they said I'd had problems the rest of my life and da. And I was like, great. And then at the time I was actually working for British Airways. That's why I was going on the M25, because I was actually going to work. And a friend of mine said to me one day, can I practice this thing on you? And I'm like, look, you can do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. If it's going to help my neck, I'm up for it. And it did. And I was so blown away. She actually practiced touch for health. I don't know if anybody has heard of touch for health. It's a precursor really to kinesiology. And so I went to her practitioner, who basically fixed my neck in a couple of sessions. And I was so blown away. And I was still having to go to these doctors who were still giving me the same story, the same old narrative. You're going to have problems. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But I wanted the car insurance. I was like, that's 4 years. So I thought, well, I'm just going to carry on and play this game, because what you've done has not done anything for me. And it literally switched me into this world of energy healing. Those of you who don't know what kinesiology is, it is the most incredible practice where we use muscle testing to actually look inside the body, if you like. It's like Googling inside the body to find out what it needs to bring yourself back into health, whether it's on a spiritual, electrical level, a nutritional, physical, emotional, whatever. It's just like typing in, give me the answers. And we do that with muscle testing and goodness knows what else. So I was blown away, because I just thought, how on earth could she do this with my neck when I had been spending probably the last couple of years in excruciating pain, having all these things, and this story in my 20s that you're going to have problems the rest of your life with your neck, which I don't.
Yeah.
So I was like this convert that had almost walked through these magic curtains. And you know, this is 30 years ago. People did not know, people didn't even talk about yoga. Do you remember this, Jill?
I
Yeah.
do.
People didn't even talk about yoga, let alone muscle testing or chakras or energy, or unless you were really weird, as they used to say. And I was obviously one of those weird ones, but whatever. So it took me down this pathway where I actually trained off as a reflexologist, and that was by default because a friend of mine's father was dying, and she's like, "I want to do reflexology," and I was like, "I really don't want to do that." She said, "But come and support us." So I did it, and actually, I became a complete foot fetish person because
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I had so many incredible results with it because our whole history is on the bottom of our feet and on our hands. So when you understand the stories that your feet and your hands are telling you, it's quite incredible. So I did that for many years as well. And my journey just continued to lead me into more things that were sort of off the sort of the norm, if you like, into crystal healing or Reiki and all this different energy type of work. And then the next part of the journey started when my ex-husband, as he is now,
Mm.
decided he wasn't happy in the UK and got me very drunk on a lunchtime, a very wet lunchtime up in London, and actually came up with the idea of moving overseas. And I was still working for British Airways part-time at that time. We had our boys were only 3 and 5, 2 and 4, something like that. And I was like, well, if this is going to make you happy, I'll do it. Anyone recognize that sort of thing? So I gave up my job, gave up the house, left my dog, or our dog, and we moved to Hong Kong, of which I have to say I did love. So of course, then I went in and I did actually kinesiology. I worked in a doctor's surgery there, and I did kinesiology and I did reflexology there. I think I did about a day and a half, and I built up a practice in my own flat while I was in Hong Kong as well. And then he wasn't happy again after 9 months. So changed his job, still wasn't happy, and said, right, we're going to move to the Philippines. And I was like, that's not really where I want to go. But, it's like, okay, if this is going to make you happy, we'll go and we'll do it. So we went. And then after 4 months, he left me. So that was hugely challenging. He did stay in the country for a while. The boys at this stage were like 7 and 9. And I did not know what to do. I did not want to bring them back to I didn't want to come back to the UK myself, but I didn't want to take the boys away from their father either. So I didn't want that to be my decision. And actually, I was so traumatized emotionally, physically, I was not in a state to make a decision to move back the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So I stayed for another 7 years, basically. And within that 7 years, I created a really good business. I had a very, very big community of people in the expat community, but also in the local community. I also trained as a telephone counsellor, so like a Samaritans down there, because I wanted to give back to the local community. And I built up a big business, and I did some further training. That's actually where I did my life coaching. I did my Theta Healing training down there. I'd done acupressure when I lived in Hong Kong. I did EFT when I lived in Hong Kong. So I was just doing all of these different things. I was teaching workshops. I worked with a lot of kids. I worked with men. I worked with anybody really that had imbalances. So that is really that part of that stressful part of my life, which taught me so much.
It's absolutely amazing, actually. I love the analogy of Google. Muscle testing, kinesiology being Google for your body, because you're absolutely right. And you can do it on yourself, can't you? We won't go into that now because it's quite time consuming. But yeah, I've tried it a few times, and even just the rocking backwards and forwards, you can ask your body questions. And
Totally.
yeah, no, I love it. I love it. But yes, a very interesting life, Fiona. You brought the boys back to the UK, and was their dad still abroad at that stage?
Yes, he was still abroad. He'd moved, where did he move to? He moved to Vietnam, and then he moved somewhere else, I think, Malaysia, and I think now he's in Australia.
Wow.
So,
Probably
yeah,
still not happy. So hey ho. Um,
not my
so
journey anymore.
no, absolutely not your problem. I mean, you couldn't have done more to help him really. So yeah, that's all a bit annoying, isn't it? Okay, so having a positive and helpful energy is obviously one way that I changed my life. I think I've always been a bit of a half glass full person, quite honestly. But I didn't understand about energy. When I did start to understand about it, my whole life made sense. And I think it made sense to my sister because she said, "Oh my God, that's why you've had the life you've had, and I've had the life I've had, because you've always been a positive person." So I know it helps us with our lives. But for those people listening who don't understand this whole energy thing, can you explain it?
Let me see if I can put it into really simple terms, because it's a great question. And I know that, I talk about it as it's second nature because it is to me, because I've been doing this for so long. So I have to think about my language sometimes when I'm talking, because people are like, what on earth is she on about now? So this is how I explain it. We are literally just energy. We are not physical matter. This is still energy. Everything has a frequency of vibration. Absolutely everything. So think about a river. When you see a river that's flowing, and it's twisting and it's turning, there's no problems with it going over the stones or even the rocks and the bundles, and it goes around the corners, and it's glowing and it's sparkling, and it's just really inviting. This is like how I see our energy going through our body when we're fit and we're healthy and we're happy and we're in these high vibrational states. Now, when we feel, and I always remember these three things: when you are sick, when you feel stressed, when you are in pain, your energy is blocked. So it's just like that river comes to a point where there's a big boulder and it cannot go anywhere. Well, some of it can go around the corner, but the rest of it gets stuck in a little hole, and it gets stagnant and it gets green and slimy. That is like your energy when it's in those three states. It's blocked. And then we feel, when you feel in a high vibrational state of being, or high energy, let's put it that way, because you're happy, you're healthy, you don't get sick no matter who is around you. You just feel great. This is where we can talk about our energy. And I hope that gives people a little understanding of how I see the energy. Now, in the Chinese theories, which I absolutely love, having sort of trained as a kinesiologist, basing our work on the meridian system, this is the energy pathways through our bodies. So if people don't understand the meridians, think of the meridians of like your rivers. There's 14 of them coming up and down the body, carrying through all this energy that keeps us in that state of joy, in that state of happiness, in that state of balance. But again, if you get pain in your body, you get something congested in your elbow or your arm, that energy cannot move forwards or move through. So what is it we can do then? And this is where kinesiology and a lot of the other things, reflexology, all these different things come in, because what we're doing is we're releasing those channels so we can flow, that energy can flow, so that you come back into feeling happy and healthy. Does that make it feel a little easier?
Yes. No, I think that's really good. And if people are still a little unsure, if they were to look at a human hand under a microscope, a very, very, very powerful microscope, they would see the energy moving.
Absolutely.
We're not a solid matter.
And
This
even, yeah,
is not solid, even a book is not
absolutely.
solid.
Rubbing your hands together, and you
Yes.
can feel that energy between your hands, and you
Yeah.
can get to a certain distance where you might feel there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Where the more we work and the more awareness that we have about this, the more sensitive we become. And I noticed this, and I'll give you an example. When I used to do reflexology a lot, there were some people's feet that were literally like plates of meat. They were dead.
Yeah.
There was nothing, there were no reflexes, there was nothing going on, because their energy, their vibration was just sluggish. Their entire system was just bleh. And you'll know what I mean when I say this, because you know how that feels.
Yeah.
But when you start working the feet after a while, it might take a few weeks for some of these people, they start to think, oh my God, I can feel that. And it starts to vibrate. You can start to feel something feels different. I feel more alive. I feel lighter. I feel buzzy.
Yeah, even if you have a massage, so if you feel you've got knots and you're tight here and you have a massage, generally after a massage, I sleep so well because you are flowing better. Your whole system is got rid of some of those blockages. I think I've got so many that I never get rid of them all in one massage. But yeah, it's no, I think that's a brilliant way of explaining it. I love the idea that you've got a Zenergy chest because I think the Zenergizer is such a brilliant name for you because you are a full of energy person. You're so vibrant, and whenever I've bumped into you at networking events, you always look gorgeous. Today, I mean, look, you've got your red on. You just look fabulous. So
I
having yes, having a Zenergy chest is fabulous. What tools in it? We've talked about some of the tools that you've got, but what tools in that chest can help us to reconnect, rejuvenate, and re-energize ourselves?
my goodness, there's a lot of tools in my energy chest. And the reason I called it this is because, I've never been one of those people who has just gone into one, as you can tell, one practice, and that's been it. Because I've been so fascinated by other ways of working with the body and the mind, of course, and our emotional state of being, because I don't believe there's any one thing that we need all the time, because we're changing, we're evolving. Sometimes we want to do some tapping, sometimes we just need some calm meditation. We need different things at different times. So my Zenergy chest literally involves pretty much things from every modality that I have actually done throughout the years, and I just bring in these different things. So let me give you one, because one thing I think every single person can relate to is feeling anxious or
Yeah.
feeling stressed out. I've taught this to children as young as probably 3, actually. The points just under our collarbone. So then this dip here, this is the end of the kidney meridian, actually. The kidney meridian starts underneath the foot and it comes all the way up the body and it finishes here. Now, kidney meridian is all about the emotions connected with this of fear, anxiety, panic, dread. Okay. Now, I could tell you so much about the kidney meridian, but I'll keep it. There's loads of information on my YouTube channel. But it's the one meridian out of all the 14 that is also known as a master point. Some of them are master points, some of them are tonic points. Some of them are just points, but some of them are more important. And this is one of them. When we tap, we've got different things. We can tap underneath here. This will get all of the meridians flowing in the right direction. This is the only meridian that does this. But the most important thing to remember about this, we do this automatically sometimes. And I used to do it on the back of my boys when they were babies because it's calming. This is the reason we do this. Because this point here, the kidney meridian, is the meridian that we can, when we're tapping this and we're feeling stressed and anxious, it will bring us back into that place of calm. Now, when I use it, I always tap with my palm of my hand, because here we've got the thymus right in the center of the chest, which is responsible for our immune system. When we get stressed, sick, or in pain, immune system goes down.
Yeah.
So by tapping under here and taking those nice long deep breaths in the base of your tummy, you are telling your body to flip in on the physiological side to the parasympathetic nervous system, which means you're telling the body you're safe, you're calm. Okay, so this is something I teach everybody. I've had parents come to me, I remember in the Philippines years ago, and she came to me as a client. She said, I've just been to this party and I saw this child, it wasn't her child, whose child it was, screaming and really upset about it. So she literally went up to this child and she started to tap. And the child just completely calmed down.
Oh.
So if you remember nothing from this story today, remember K27 as it's known, 27th point, tap under here, onto the chest, take those long deep breaths, and it will really bring you back into a place of calm and being more centered and in that place of balance.
Oh, that's
That's just
brilliant.
one. There are
Yeah.
stacks of stuff that I can share with you. Some of them are on my YouTube channel as well, actually.
No, that's brilliant. And so the kidney meridian, that's linked to the tummy and everything, isn't it?
So you think about this, the kidney meridian literally starts right underneath the center of your foot, and it comes inside the inner ankle, inside the legs, all the way up through the side of the stomach, and it finishes here. So again, physically, if you've got anything going on underneath your feet, maybe around the ankles, knee problems inside your knees, coming up through the digestive organs or through those organs, kidney meridian will be something, even when you tap this, if you've got a physical issue,
Yeah.
it will also help to relieve it. Because remember, stressed, sick, pain, energy is blocked.
Yeah.
And when we're tapping, you're releasing those blocks, you're giving that vibration into that meridian, and you're releasing the energy in there so that it actually can flow.
And so I guess when acupuncturists stick needles in the different meridian points, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's releasing things and releasing.
Exactly that. And that's exactly what. So I do EFT. I do it in a slightly different way to the traditional way now, but this is exactly the same. So instead of putting needles in certain points, we're tapping on the beginning or the end points of the meridians.
Mm,
So acupuncture is the same sort of thing. So it's still going into certain points. It's not going in any random point. There's specific points to release those blocks so that energy can flow, just
yeah.
like that river.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm going to tell both my children they get a bit anxious.
Honestly, it's really does work, but make sure you do the breathing, because what
Yes.
we tend to, and this is what I just wanted to say very quickly about this, what we tend to do is breathe from the upper part of our chest, and when we're doing this, you are already telling the body that you are stressed, you're getting ready to fight, flight,
Yeah.
freeze.
Yeah.
So by taking those long deep breaths, you are sending a different trigger to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different story.
No, that's brilliant. Love that. Um, Now, we all experience major life changing events. All of us have, certainly when you get to my age, many of them. But, divorce, losing your job, a bereavement, something that leaves you questioning what your life purpose is. Or maybe we're fearful of the future and we think that there must be more to life. I'm a sort of empty nester now. One's popped back home for a while after uni. But I think when your youngest goes to uni or leaves home, that's when you start thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. I've juggled work and childcare and everything else for years. Um, maybe we're thinking that we're worth more. Maybe we have a feeling of defeat or even despair. And I know I've spoken to lots of women who have this sudden empty nest syndrome, where they're thinking, I can't do anything, I'm worthless, I'm whatever. What can we do? What can we do to try and snap ourselves out of these lost feelings after some major life change?
Well, I've been through all of those, so this could be another podcast in its own. I think what's really important here is what tends to happen, and I think you'll relate to this, is that as mothers, as wives, as partners, as people who work, whatever it is, we often get to this stage in life when we think, as you've just said, who the heck am I?
Mm,
And this was the question that came up when my ex left, because my ex literally left. And he said to me, "You don't do it for anymore." That was it. After 22 years, I was like, no other explanation. That was basically it. And I remember questioning myself, and I went straight back into an old thought pattern: I'm not good enough,
yeah.
which was a thought pattern I'd had from, you know, that's another story. One of my stepmothers, several of them. That's a completely another story. And so that all came back up. And I do remember thinking at one point, I was doing my EFT training, actually, it's about 15 years ago. And I suddenly had this light bulb moment. And I thought, someone else's opinion has actually got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
We rely on what other people feel and think and say about us more than what we feel and think about ourselves.
Yeah.
So this is where the journey really starts into, well, who are you? How do you step back into your power? Because I had actually had no idea how much I'd actually lost myself.
Yeah.
And I was very independent. I was very, independent, doing all the things I wanted. I thought I was very confident. And suddenly I was like, shit, I'm in a foreign country. I had nothing in my name, not even my phone. I had no bank account. I had no ID. I had nothing. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my God. So the couple of things that I can tell you is what I experienced. And you don't have to be in a foreign country and going through what I went through, but we all go through these shifts. And whether you're not getting on with your partner, your husband, and you're thinking, actually, it's too scary to leave and be on my own, or the kids have gone and you're thinking, well, who am I now? What do I do? You take one day at a time,
Yeah.
one day at a time. And if you have a shitty day, my best motto was, tomorrow's another day. You
Mm.
pick yourself up and you move on. And you celebrate anything, no matter how small it is, that might be a win, that you could call a win. But you start to look at, what does it mean for me to feel, to be happy? What does that actually mean? What do I need for me now? This is not about doing for everyone else, which women are brilliant at doing.
Mm.
Do. It's about now this self-reflection. And this is the women that I work with so much. It's like they want to explore what else is possible for me. Who really am I underneath the title of whoever that might be? And so it really does take that self-reflection. And this is where I work with the chakras a lot, because they're such a beautiful energy system that tell us a story about who we are, where we've got stories of our own locked in certain ones of these energy centers and these vortexes. And we can clear those, because more often than not, we are held and we are stuck because of old belief systems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not even ours, they're someone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. That came up big time for me quite a few years ago now. And my parents had got divorced when I was split up when I was 11, divorced when I was 12. And I lived with my dad and then my mum and yeah, mainly my mum after that, and my stepdad, who was brilliant. My stepdad was lovely. Um, and he's still married to my mum,
Oh,
50
wow.
odd
Well,
years
that's good.
later. So yeah, no, that's good. Um, but it's when these feelings come up that might be so with me, I was confident, I was successful, but I used to be part of groups, but I'd never feel like I really belonged in the group. And I couldn't put a name on what that was. And it was only when I sort of boiled it down that because I moved, even when we were with my dad, he was in the Air Force, so we moved around constantly.
Okay, yeah.
So my education missed huge chunks depending on, there was no such thing as a national curriculum in those days.
Mm.
And then there was the whole thing over the divorce in the time, in an era when parents didn't get divorced.
That's
It
right.
wasn't commonplace. We're talking 70s. It wasn't a normal thing. And in fact, late 60s when my parents divorced. In fact, yeah, early 60s, maybe even. It's, time
Mine was
flies.
early 60s. My
Time
parents were
flies.
divorced early 60s. Being
But
living.
people didn't get divorced. So I was embarrassed to tell anyone at school. I kept crying, but I wouldn't tell anyone why I was crying. And that then builds up this whole inside thing of being ashamed, of being, not who you want to be. So feeling not enough, feeling not worthy, feeling you don't fit in, it's commonplace. And as you say, it's normally from something that's happened to you, usually in your childhood, not necessarily in your childhood, but you've given us some great tools already that can help with that. But is there something maybe very simple people could do if they can identify that that's the feeling that they've got?
I think it's, you've got to connect. You've got to connect with the right people as well. That's really important. Find a community, find a best friend, find something. But what we tend to do is to go into the gloom and doom, and it's the poor me, and we go down that rabbit hole. No,
Yeah.
it's all right to go down there for a day or a few hours. You've got to pick yourself up and go on. Find something that gives you joy. Find something, it doesn't matter how simple it is. Oh my God, the sun's out. I'm so grateful. What can you bring in? Because remember, this is your energy.
Yeah.
So your frequency goes up and down. And it's really important that we keep our vibration and our frequency on a high level, because that keeps us in this sunnier state of being. And so it's what is going to give you joy today. It might just go and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It might be going for a walk, but do something. Get out, move your body, put some music on.
You're right. And it's within us to be happy. It's within us to be successful. And you can't rely on anyone else to do it for you.
No.
I love what you said earlier. You know, I quite often say to, especially my children, but what anyone else thinks of you is none of your business.
None of your
It
business.
shouldn't affect you. And I also say to people who are like, oh no, this has happened to me and that's happened to me. Rise above it. You know, you can make you happy. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. And it's so true. I mean, for me, starting the morning with journaling, writing out positive things, it's meditating in the morning, it's getting your body moving, whether it's 10 star jumps or whatever, something to get your energy flowing is really, really important. We all know that sometimes a person will walk into the room and the lights will dim. But you also can very luckily have people who walk into the room, like you, Fiona, and it's like the lights have been upped. They light the whole thing up. It's lovely to have their energy in the room. But some people might be in energy depleting environments at work, at home, or they may live with someone or work with someone who's an energy sucking person. How can we actually protect our own energy from those situations?
Gosh, okay. I'm going to give you a couple of really good things here. Now, number one, make sure, golden rule, drink water. Okay. When we are dehydrated, we're like a plant that shrivels, our energy our energy just, always make sure you're hydrated on wherever you are. There's a wonderful technique that I share with everybody, which called zip ups. And this again is on my YouTube channel because it's the central meridian. Do you know about this one, Jill?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we have, when we're feeling, so this goes down to actually, if you are in a high frequency vibe, if you are really happy and joyful, you cannot be pulled down by anyone's energy. It's just not possible. It's only when we're in those low vibrational states that we get sucked into more low vibes. It's like you get sucked in, it's just pulling you in from all direction. So what you were saying earlier about your morning routine, I call it the non-negotiable. So there's several steps to this. You have your non-negotiables every day, because what we want to do is number one priority is to be consistent with our practice of whatever that is every single day, because this is what gives you that high vibrational state of being, whether that's going for a walk, your yoga, your meditation, your tapping, journaling. It's all individual, whatever it is. But when you're in that state, if you have that sense of someone's really triggering you, or you just don't like that energy, zip up. Okay. This is a really simple technique. It's the central meridian. So one of the 14, and it starts from the pubic bone and it comes to the chin. So just think about this. You are literally bringing your hand up. You can rub your hands together and you can just literally trace that meridian upwards, like you're zipping yourself into your energy suit. You do this 3 times and then we just do a little lock here. And that, I can assure you, will make a massive difference to your energy. I use it a lot. In fact, it's something I use with every client to finish off. Zip yourself up. I also use this, which is frequency device. That is also something else. If I feel that I'm going into a big public place, airports, train stations, on the train, crowds, you know when you come home and you feel like you've been sucked dry.
Yeah.
So zip up, put yourself around. Healy also does a lot of protection for any EMFs. So there's lots of different techniques and things, but the zip up is a very easy one to do, but it has to follow your procedure through your day, how you're feeling within yourself, because it's all connected. It's not just something you do once in a blue moon.
No. So you need to be in a high energy situation, really, and then you're going to zip yourself up. So get yourself in that high energy feeling in the morning, move your body, drink lots of water, do a meditation, do affirmations, do whatever you do in the morning to make yourself feel great. And then, yeah, zip yourself up. I'm going to start doing that.
Absolutely.
Very good.
And the other thing that I'd like to just also add in, remember this, that energy needs to cross over. You know, when we're stagnant, people sleep and they're slumped, and the more you're stagnant, the more you just have less energy. You can't be bothered. Energy needs to cross the midline. So if you're really feeling brain dead, if you're really feeling bleh, then cross over. There's actually a brilliant technique I've got on my YouTube as well called Cook's Hookups. I teach that to all the kids. The kids have renamed it the Twisty Army thingy, which you'll understand when you do it. But this is one of the most powerful, simple techniques because it brings the right and left brain back into balance. And if you've been on the computer too long, if you can't sleep, if you're agitated, if you are just feeling out of sorts, you do Cook's Hookups. Okay? Go and have a look at it, because once you start using it, I use it pretty much every day.
Well, I will post some links to the techniques we're mentioning from your YouTube channel so people can see those. And I know we're running out of time, but you've got a very kind offer for anyone who's listening today. Fiona, do you want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. Now, I've mentioned the chakras a little bit, and some people will think, oh my God, here she goes, another woo-woo thing. But you know what? Look at it as a story. The chakras literally tell a story. They're just vortices of energy, 7 main chakras. So what I do with Healy, which is a frequency device, which is just absolutely phenomenal because it's reading your energy, is we do a chakra scan and I can give you a report. It gets very deep into what is creating the imbalance within your life, whatever intention you set that on. And then I send frequencies into your field for 7 days to bring you back into balance and harmony.
That's an amazing offer. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm more than happy to offer that. Yeah.
Thank you, Fiona. That sounds wonderful. I'll post all the links to everything people need and how they can get hold of you in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this week's show. Check out all the links to the resources mentioned in today's episode and all my freebies in the show notes. See you next time.